everybody. Welcome back. We are ready for another Ancient Influencer. We love these episodes. We hope you love these episodes too.
Yeah.
I think we've both learned so much.
Yeah.
Doing these
They've become
episodes.
my favorite
ones,
I think.
Almost like it's a branch and it's a podcast all on its own, just doing the Ancient Influencers and getting to dive in on each of these characters and doing like a little Bible study on specific characters. And we were even today talking, and I just have to laugh at myself because I literally voice mode Alexis, and I'm just going to throw myself under the bus because I was reading the story for today's episode. And, you know, I'm in my study Bible, and I study more hardcore than I ever do my Bible when we're doing these episodes.
Yeah.
So I'm reading all the front of my study Bible, you know, talking about the writer, and I'm going, oh my goodness. Wait, so John, like, who wrote the book of John, is John the Baptist? And I voiced from Alexis, and I'm like, I mean, I feel pretty much like an idiot that I never knew this until now. How did I not know this? How have I missed this? And she writes me back, and she's like, well, where did you see that? Because I'm pretty sure it's not. And I will say, I read Alexis. What got me tripped up is John, who wrote the book of John.
Yes.
It's possible that his mother was the sister of Mary.
Jesus' mom.
Yes.
Yeah.
So Jesus and this John were cousins. We also know, because when Mary is pregnant with Jesus, she goes to talk to her cousin, Elizabeth, who is John the Baptist's mom. So he is also a cousin of Jesus.
Yes.
And so I got those two twisted, sister and cousin, and I'm like, whoa, this is crazy. This is a huge revelation to me.
Wait.
Lifelong Christian, never knew John the Baptist was the same John.
Which is fair. I have to, like, it's fair to think that and to get confused, because I was telling you, like, I don't think even today a lot of that stuff is, like, assumed. It's not, like, when the Bible references all these different names, a lot of times there's a lot of mix-up. So not to say that it's incorrect, but I don't think we have enough information to confirm who they're talking about, like the individual person. Like, were they talking about this John or this John?
Yeah.
You know? And so I think it's fair to get confused, by the way.
Well, and then I confirmed it, because then I read, and then the first part of the book of John, he's talking about John and referencing John the Baptist by the name John, not myself. So I was like, okay, never mind. I just got overly excited for a minute there going, wait, what? Did I just have some big discovery in my life? So we are reading from the book of John today.
Yes.
Our ancient influencer is the Samaritan woman.
Yeah.
The woman by the well.
woman by the well, yeah. Or woman at the well, however you want to say it. In Eastern Orthodox tradition, she is venerated as a saint and known as Fotini. I think I'm saying that right. And like Lauren said, we are in the book of John, chapter 4, verses 1 through 42. So that would put us probably Jesus's mission and time when he was teaching, I believe was a total of 3 years. So this would have been from 31 to 33.
Yeah. Okay.
And we are, if you want to think geographically, we are in the territory of Samaria, which you told me was north of Jerusalem.
Yes, it is the northern region of Jerusalem.
Okay. So it is also, the well in question is Jacob's well. So it is something that is part of the Israelites' tradition and heritage and history. What is interesting, though, is the relationship between the Jews and the Samaritans. Traditionally, and back then, they had their relationship was very much rooted in animosity towards each other. And that, I don't know about you, but I have always wondered why they just didn't get along, like to the point where they hated each other. And so I did a little digging, and that's what my historical context was kind of based on today, was the differences between Jews and Samaritans, and then just a couple of other bits that will kind of give you a little bit of context to why today's story is important.
Okay.
So, although the Jews and Samaritans share ancestry and common lineage, they, over the centuries, had become estranged due to religious, political, and social differences. So, one of the main, I kind of picked like the main things for each kind of category. Samaritans, whereas the Jews worshipped in Jerusalem at the temple,
Yes.
Samaritans believed it more important to worship at Mount Gerizim for reasons I'm not 100% sure. They also believed that after the Babylonian exile, the Samaritans believed that after the exile, there was no need to rebuild the temple. So I believe maybe that was connected to why they worshipped at the mountain rather than Jerusalem. Okay. But that contributed to the tension between the two groups. Also due to the Babylonian exile, or I think it was Persian, one of the conquests that the Jews had to endure, which was many, it introduced a lot of different other ethnic groups to their territories and to their areas.
Right.
So whereas the Jews, they married within their own group.
Yeah.
The Samaritans intermingled with different ethnic groups. And the Jews considered, at that point, because of that, considered them to be a mongrel race. So, like, lesser than. Because they didn't keep with a clean Jewish a line. Yeah. They also, because they were separated, like, in the different territories, and because of, I guess, the isolation of Samaria, in a sense, maybe geographically, there wasn't a lot of intermingling between the two groups. And so I think that added to the fuel, where they were like, well, we don't go over there, we don't believe what they believe, and they do things wrong, and, you know, they're wrong and worshiping here. It just added to the fuel over centuries of time that they eventually just completely disregarded each other. And then the Samaritans also believed that the Jews were arrogant and exclusive because of their views on marriage and everything like that. So that's a little bit of history as to why they were always butting heads, and why, if you watch The Chosen, James and John, like, when Jesus said they were going to be walking through Samaria on their way back to Galilee, they were like, I cannot believe this, like, wanting to fight them.
Well, even just when we're reading what we're reading today, there was hesitation. They were like, wait, we're going to go through,
like, come again?
Samaria? Even that then was a question in this chapter right here. And Alexis broke that down really well, because literally I had put, what is a Samaritan? And I mean, quite literally, someone from the region of Samaria.
Yeah.
But then you get into a lot more depth of, there's a lot more than just where they're from. That's where they get their name. But the reason is because of all of those different divisive factors.
Yeah.
And essentially the people of Jewish faith feeling like they were impure. They had more of that mixing, as you were saying, as far as marrying outside of the Jewish faith, almost being like half pagan.
Yeah,
that was something I had come across. And then finding it really interesting too that the town, Sychar, was near land that Jacob had given to Joseph. So I was looking a little bit at that, because
that's interesting.
Obviously we call this Jacob's well. There's no way of, when I was reading into it, of really knowing, you know, in what relation that was to Jacob, other than the fact that it was in that territory that he had given to Joseph. And just to kind of take y'all back, if y'all remember our last ancient influencer on Ishmael, we're looking back here to Jacob is the son of Isaac, the brother of Ishmael. And I find it really interesting. So then Jacob has his 12 sons. Those become the 12 nations. And we're at Jacob's well when Jesus reveals himself to this Samaritan woman. And before Jacob's death, he had told to his sons that essentially a Messiah would come, that a king would come
Oh, wow. I did
And
not even put that together.
yeah, so kind of crazy that
Oh,
Jesus
wow.
comes to what they call Jacob's well. Jacob is the one who essentially prophesied a
Um,
king will come and he's going to make everything right again. And now
oh,
that king has
can you
come.
guys believe how awesome the
It
Bible is?
all
Like,
circles back.
I love the Bible.
It's overwhelming, but then when you start studying it, you're like, wait, this and this and this and this.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I
So
guess,
there's even significance in the actual well
wow.
that Jesus is meeting this woman at.
That's incredible, honestly.
God's in the details.
He really is.
He is in the details. So should we get into the passage, or did you have anything else
I just
you
had
want
a
to cover?
couple more things to just give us a little
Yes.
bit more context. Gender roles and marital status. I think these are kind of things that people would assume about this time period. Women in this time were subordinate to men and expected to adhere to social norms. Um, when it comes to marriage, more than one marriage or living with the opposite sex outside of the confines of marriage was scandalous and led to social isolation. That will help us understand the impact of the woman at the well. And then lastly, when it comes to culture, Middle Eastern society at this time was very communal. So everything was shared, everything was done within the community, with other people. And
Okay.
so I think that just kind of gives us the appropriate background to understand why Jesus's interaction with the Samaritan woman was so mind-blowing
Yeah.
to her and to the disciples and to the rest of the town. So with that being said, if you wanted to
Yes, let's read a little. Let's
dive
read a
into the
bit
Bible.
of the passage.
Let's see what he said
See what he said.
to the Samaritan woman.
So, as Alexa said, it is in John 4, and it covers pretty much the entire chapter of John 4. But we're just going to go to the meat and potatoes of the story. So we are starting at John 4:7. When a Samaritan woman came to draw water, Jesus said to her, "Will you give me a drink?" His disciples had gone into the town to buy food. The Samaritan woman said to him, "You are a Jew, and I am a Samaritan woman. How can you ask me for a drink?" For Jews do not associate with Samaritans. Jesus answered her, "If you knew the gift of God and who it is that asks you for a drink, you would have asked him, and he would have given you living water." "Sir," the woman said, "you have nothing to draw with, and the well is deep. Where can you get this living water? Are you greater than our father Jacob, who gave us the well and drank from it himself, as did also his sons and his livestock?" Jesus answered, "Everyone who drinks this water will be thirsty again, but whoever drinks the water I give them will never thirst. Indeed, the water I give them will become in them a spring of water welling up to eternal life." The woman said to him, "Sir, give me this water so that I won't get thirsty and have to keep coming here to draw water." He told her, "Go call your husband and come back." "I have no husband," she replied. Jesus said to her, "You are right when you say you have no husband. The fact is, you have had 5 husbands, and the man you now have is not your husband. What you have just said is quite true." "Sir," the woman said, "I can see that you are a prophet. Our ancestors worshipped on this mountain, but you Jews claim that the place where we must worship is in Jerusalem." "Woman," Jesus replied, "believe me, a time is coming when you will worship the Father neither on this mountain nor in Jerusalem. You Samaritans worship what you do not know. We worship what we do know, for salvation is from the Jews. Yet a time is coming and has now come when the true worshippers will worship the Father in the Spirit and in truth, for they are the kind of worshippers the Father seeks. God is Spirit, and his worshippers must worship in the Spirit and in the truth." The woman said, "I know that Messiah, called Christ, is coming. When he comes, he will explain everything to us." Then Jesus declared, "I, the one speaking to you, I am he."
Woo, Jesus. Okay, I just want to say really quickly that Jesus does have a sense of humor because, like, I can imagine the situation going on in my head, and he's like, "Girl, I know he's not your husband. Like, girl, you done had 5. Like, okay, like,
He
you can't
really
be
does.
playing with me. I know that." And so I thought that was kind of funny
Yeah.
as you were reading that. Like,
Well, because he doesn't even just say it first. Like, he says, "Go to your husband." And
Yeah,
she's like,
he's
I don't
like
have one. And
setting
he's
her
like,
up.
yeah, I know you don't.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like Jesus does be having humor
He really
sometimes.
does.
But there's a lot to take away from that.
Hmm.
And you only read a portion of that just for the sake of time, but there are other aspects of the story too. But what stood out to you the most?
So, as you were mentioning, right, just the societal norms of the time, women wouldn't even really speak to men in public, even to their husbands, even to their fathers. They wouldn't speak to men in public. And especially just given we're talking about Jesus, a Jew, also not only talking to a woman, but talking to a Samaritan woman, which we know Jews look down upon, right, as
Yeah.
being impure. So to me, the first thing I see is pointing to the unconditional love of God. And in multiple ways. One, in the fact that he loves everyone. There's not one group that is above the other in God's eyes.
Yeah.
And two, when you look at the fact that Jesus knows that she's been married 5 times, she's currently living out of wedlock, and it reminds you that God's love for us is greater than our sin.
Yeah, or who people say we are.
Yes, our reputation, it's greater than who we even think we are. God is going to seek us out, and it doesn't matter our past. It doesn't even matter our present. God will seek us out. He'll seek anybody out. There's not a higher probability that God is going to seek out someone who makes straight A's versus someone who flunks out.
Yeah.
God's love is the same for everyone, and it is his ultimate goal to be in relationship with us.
Yeah. What stood out to me was after Jesus encountered the Samaritan woman and like his disciples come back and like bring food or whatever. The Samaritan woman goes back to the after she realizes who she's speaking to. She's speaking to the Messiah. She's like, just from what you've told me, I already know who you are.
Yeah.
And so she goes to the town and she starts saying like, he's telling me things that about myself that he shouldn't have known.
I'm trying to think of the exact words. It says here, John 4:39, many of the Samaritans from the town believed in him because of the woman's testimony. He told me everything I ever did.
Yes.
That's
Well, it reminds me of his encounter with Mary Magdalene when, okay, in The Chosen, he calls her by her name and she drops her cup and she turns around and she's like, how could you know that?
such a powerful
And
scene in
and,
the shows,
and it,
actually.
I'm getting chills because I feel like his answer is similar to the Samaritan woman's in that he's basically saying, I am that I am. Like, I am he.
I'm who you're
And
speaking of.
I'm who you're speaking of and who you are waiting on, basically. And it's so cool to just see how God uses women and the really awesome encounters. Because I don't know about you, but from what I have learned and what we have researched and read so far, is that the women who encounter Jesus have no doubt whatsoever. Like every single woman, female influencer that we've covered and others that we know about have believed Jesus at the moment that they met him.
Yeah.
Whereas his disciples, for instance,
They questioned him till
they
the end.
questioned him until the end, and Thomas even until after, until he felt Jesus's wounds. And like that is just so profound to me that like I think that speaks to the role that we have when it comes to community and society, and the fact that the Samaritan woman goes back to her community, tells the Samaritans, this is the guy that we've been waiting on, blah, blah, blah. Not blah, 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 but like, and then they start to believe. And so that opens the door up for Jesus to spend more time in Samaria rather than just passing through.
Right.
Sharing the gospel, teaching them, sharing that he is the Messiah, and then they come to believe. And you also see that with Lydia. And so Lydia and the Samaritan woman, I think, have a lot in common in that they were both the firsts in evangelizing. The Samaritan woman, obviously, during the life of Jesus, and then Lydia afterwards.
Right.
But
There are parallels to those two stories. And
yeah.
also thinking about the Samaritan woman, she didn't have a great reputation.
Yeah.
So she's running back into town, and I
Yeah.
had read she was likely going to the well in the middle of the day
When no one else was there.
because the other women would go either in the morning when it was cool or in the evening when it was cool. And so she's going in the middle of the day because she's kind of an outcast
Right.
because of her past transgressions. And yet she runs back into the town, just like how Lydia, being a servant, essentially ran back into the house.
And Rhoda.
Oh my gosh, and Rhoda too. So yeah, we're talking about these like basically outcast women,
Yeah.
who aren't really seen as equal to everybody else, but they come back with the news, and because of their boldness, because of their confidence in like this, he is who he says he is.
Yeah.
People believe it.
Yeah.
And it doesn't even matter their past. It doesn't matter who they are. It's
And
that
it
they're
doesn't
coming in
even
and
matter how much you know. Like, it
Yeah.
doesn't matter how much, like, scripture or your knowledge on stuff. Like, it's the bold faith that you have that can unlock something in someone else's heart.
Well, I think when people see that, when people see someone who is so, it is just radiating from them, you cannot ignore it. And this happened actually when I was in Dallas for the 4th of July, and we had gone into Panera, and
Of course you did.
I know. I'm predictable. We had gone into Panera and we were making a cup of coffee, and this man, I could see and sense joyful presence from him. He was coming in at the same time as us. And so as we were walking through the doors, how the doors open for each other, and you can just sense that joyfulness from someone. And flash forward a little bit, and we're trying to make our coffee, and him and his wife are making coffee, and I just hear them talking, and I hear the word God, and I'm just hearing little tidbits of their conversation.
Yeah.
And the person I was with went and sat down at the table and let me finish making the coffee. And I say to this couple, I'm sorry, I don't mean to eavesdrop, but God's just really good. And we just kind of have a quick little brief conversation.
Oh, I love that.
We introduce ourselves, and I sit back at the table, and the first thing, I'll just say, the first thing Chase says is, "What did y'all talk about?" I was like, "God," and he was like, "I know. That's why I walked away. I wanted to let you have your moment."
That
He
is
was like,
so
It
cute.
was like I could see you here, like I saw you hearing them,
Uh-huh.
and I knew you wanted to say something.
Oh.
So I walked away so you could have your moment. And literally, I did, because I couldn't help myself. Like,
Right. There's a magnet too, and I've shared a story too of just like people seeing a light, and just like whether it to be to ask a question, whether it to spark a conversation, and just
Yeah.
like be in the presence of other believers, because I think there's a healing component to that.
there
Just,
is,
like,
and like I really heard only tidbits, so I didn't even really know what they're talking about, and I didn't even get until further. I didn't ask further questions, but I
Yeah.
just said, I'm sorry to eavesdrop, but God is so good. We didn't even have to share some big long conversation. It was just like camaraderie
yes,
and just feeling that joint connection.
yeah,
And I think I needed it that day a little bit because I was feeling
sure.
kind of like stressed and anxious. And so it was just nice. And it's just that when someone has the Holy Spirit in them,
yeah,
it's evident and you see it without even knowing. Because
Yeah.
I could see the joy in him before I even heard them talking about God.
God, yeah,
And I imagine, when the Samaritan woman is running back into town,
right.
they could see the difference in her.
Yeah, like
Like-
all of their preconceived notions and prejudices about her go out the window, and they essentially just like, what do you mean?
They see
Yeah.
that Jesus glow,
Yeah.
basically, that
And-
joy.
And I think there's something to be said when someone feels like they're known and like fully known, and know that I feel like I can only imagine what it would have been like for her, and the thoughts going through her head in that moment, in that interaction, knowing that the Messiah just sat down with her, asked her for water, and then offered up living water, meaning I am offering you eternity. You, a woman who, despite your
dwell
past,
within you.
yeah, I can only imagine what she felt after being outcast for so long. And like you said, that joy that she must have felt running back to her community.
And so much so that people could see it. And I feel like the final thing that I really took away from it is, I think it was my study Bible or one of the Bible studies, but it used the phrase, the testimony of an outcast. And I thought it just reminds us how important it is to share our story, because regardless of who you are, socially, whatever, sharing your story is so important. And we've talked about it here on the podcast, but we can downplay the importance that our story can have in someone's life. And the call on our life to share our testimony. We had a whole episode on sharing our testimony.
Yeah.
And it just reminded me of that, of how important and how God continuously shows us in the Bible how important it is that we do that, because we're reaching people.
Yeah.
Literally just simply through our story, simply through our sharing our experiences. We don't have to preach to them.
Right.
We just share what we've experienced, and we could change their lives.
Yeah. Let them take what they need to hear from that. It's not about how we dress. It's not about who we are or, what we did. It really is about the transformation inside and the impact that God had on your life on the inside. Just to your point, like your testimony, regardless of what you think of it, it will impact someone because of the transformation that happens inside, For the woman at the well, it was her worth, I think, and like her place in society and the redemptive nature of that, I think. Or she basically probably was able to re-enter society, and like she acted as like one of the first evangelists.
Yeah.
So it was pretty cool.
That is really neat. Well, that about wraps it up, I think, with our Ancient Influencer episode of The Woman at the Well, or the Samaritan Woman.
Yep.
So we will catch you in a couple weeks.